Hey guys, so I finally finished playing with Arakaali's Fang dagger, and I must say, spiders are way more viable than I expected. Mapping feels pretty amazing and the clear speed is pretty decent. Shaper was easy, I even did Hall of Grandmasters. Well, I had to use Scorching Ray for the two very high block characters, but the rest was surprisingly easy. I can see many ways to build around Arakaali's Fang dagger, and I'm pretty sure that other content creators and streamers are gonna do their own versions. And I'm almost sure that Arakaali's Fang and the spiders are gonna be pretty meta. They are immortal after all, just like Herald of Agnemon. The only kind of drawback that I can think of is that it sometimes is annoying to raise spiders. I am using Writhing Jar to get the spiders, but sometimes worms from Writhing Jar are just being thrown behind me and I'm attacking in front of me. And then my golem or other minions kills those worms and I don't get the spiders. Also, Syndicate Fortification encounter is pretty difficult, but I assume it's difficult for most of the minion builds. In the fortifications there are a ton of enemies that keep getting respawned, and you kind of need to get inside the fortification, and even after the Syndicate nerf it's still pretty sketchy. But other than that, all the other encounters feels pretty easy. I don't have very high tier Elder to show, and I don't have Uber Elder unlocked yet because I haven't done a lot of red tier maps yet, but I'm pretty sure that spiders should be able to deal with Uber Elder as well. Also, there are so many things that I could improve and so many other things that I could try with spiders, but I already got bored of it and I wanted to start a new build. For this build I wanted to kind of keep the spider theme, 20 small spiders then one bigger spider from Herald of Agony, Fenumus Weave gloves for aspect of the spider, and the damage is 75% physical and 25% chaos, with some poison damage. And I'm not really using any expensive items, well, except for the Arakaali's Fang dagger, which was around 7 chaos when I bought it, but since my last video the price just went up quite a lot, so thanks to me it's 1 exalt now, you're welcome. But the rest of the items are, well, pretty cheap I guess. I did try to craft some decent abyss jewels, which could be expensive, but not really mandatory to do the build, and you do not need any 6-link body armor. If you can get Arakaali's Fang dagger, then you are good to go. I'm gonna talk about this in more details. All the items, links, skills, passive skill tree, timestamps, links and all the other info will be in the description. Also, if you do not understand something about Arakaali's Fang dagger, please check my previous video because I made a video specifically talking about Arakaali's Fang and its mechanic. To make the video shorter, I'm just gonna simplify some explanations. So let's talk about items. Arakaali's Fang. You do the kill, you raise spiders. You need corpses to raise spiders. Spiders by default last 30 seconds, they cannot be resummoned until they expire, and their duration cannot be refreshed until they expire. So you can only resummon them after they expire. Spiders use only Viper Strike, which has 100% chance to poison, and they are freaking creepy. Oh, and they are immortal. And they cannot taunt. 20 spiders is the limit, even if you are dual wielded. Spiders are also level 75. Make sure you set monster level at 75 in path of building, otherwise you will get much higher damage. For my offhand, I decided to go with Victario's Shattered Shield, and I'm not using Necromantic Aegis. I wanted a shield for myself to provide some defenses, and I can still reliably provide frenzy charges to my spiders with the ball lighting. I am also using Fenumus Weave gloves. In my opinion, this is one of the most versatile gloves, which can work for basically any build. It does give damage and slows enemies. For the helmet I decided to use Speaker's Wreath. However, I think that it's not really needed. I wanted to use certain mechanics that would allow me to get on-kill effects for myself, but in the end I couldn't get the right mods that I wanted. You could improve your clear speed and movement speed by adding abyss jewels with onslaught on kill, since the helmet prevents your minions from killing enemies, and if enemies die from poison it counts as your kill. So it is a pretty cool way to get onslaught as a summoner. I also wanted to use percentage recover life on kill on body armor. This would allow me a pretty smooth mapping because it would passively heal me while clearing, but I couldn't get a good body armor with that mod, but instead I just got a decent body armor with a lot of life. Boots nothing special, just life, resistances and movement speed. On rings and amulets you may want to craft minion movement speed with essences, but it is definitely not mandatory. I was doing just fine without it and I only crafted it at around level 87. On rings and amulet you may also want to get some dexterity or strength, because this build does need quite a lot of dexterity and strength. Bell doesn't even have to be Stygian wise, just life and resistances, but of course if you want to push the damage higher you want to get Stygian wise and socket good abyssal jewels. And for abyssal jewels the best mod to get is minion attack speed. You may also want to get minions have chance to blind on hit with attacks, then flat life for yourself and whatever else you can get. As always, abyssal jewels can be pretty expensive and you can get a a lot of damage out of them, so it all depends on your budget. I did manage to get all the jewels myself, and I don't really have a lot of currency. Oh, also to get more dexterity you can use Careful Planning jewel to convert intelligence into dexterity in radius. I would even say it's almost mandatory, otherwise you would just need so much dex. As for the flasks, the only mandatory is Writhing Jar. Now let's talk about skills and links. So the Arakaali's Fang dagger doesn't actually have to be linked. It is socketed with minion damage, melee physical damage, and melee splash. And I do swap melee splash for multi-strike against single target. But the damage is definitely high enough that you don't even need to swap it for normal map bosses. Damage on full life in Path of Building doesn't seem to work, but multi-strike still should give you more DPS. And melee physical damage support gives the same multiplier as damage on full life. Next, in my gloves I have Herald of Agony linked with Withering Touch, damage on full life and minion damage. I did not want to focus on Agony minion because we all know that it is very strong, so it is mostly used against bosses. Withering Touch applies Wither stacks, which increases the hair's damage and mistake, which is mostly for the poison because spiders deal 75% of physical damage. And to summon Herald of Agony, you need to poison the enemies to maintain virulent stacks. And to do that you need to hit enemies with physical or hair's damage. So for that I'm just using Lighting linked with Lesser Poison, Curse on Hit, Despair and Faster Casting. This is on a 5 link in my body armor. Faster Casting is not mandatory but it does help smooth it out. Since Lighting hits so frequently, it's pretty easy to maintain virulent stacks and maintain Agony Minion. Next, I have Desecrate linked with Spell Cascade, because without Spell Cascade I would only create 5 corpses and you do summon 2 spiders per 1 corpse. And then I have Phase Run linked with Increased Duration. I also wanted to increase my defensive mechanics somehow, so I have Cast and Damage Taken level 6, doesn't have to be level 6, and then linked with Bone Offering, Convocation and Increased Duration. So when I take some damage, I trigger Bone Offering, destroy corpses, and because of Ascendancy node I get 50% of the Bone Offering effect on myself, which gives block. But if you want more damage, definitely use Spirit Offering. Then I was experimenting with banners. At first I was using War Banner, which does give accuracy to minions and nearby enemies take increased physical damage. But later on I switched to Dread Banner, which gives Impale chance to allies, and Impale does give extra damage. Well, it's a bit complicated to explain. However, I cannot compare the numbers because Path of Building does not count that. Most likely War Banner gives more poison damage, but Dread Banner does give more initial hit damage. So I end up using Dread Banner. It just felt slightly better for the clear speed, I guess. And lastly I got Flame Dash, Stone Golem and Wild Blight. Wild Blight is just, well, kind of experimental. It does increase the hair's damage and mistake, but it also slows down them a lot, which does help me survive better, sometimes. Now to give you a couple other ideas, you could use Animate Guardian and use like Victario's Charity for Animate Guardian and have Intimidate on hit weapon. In addition to spiders you could also use specters, zombies, skeletons or summon raging spirits. You could also focus the spiders more on elemental and have elemental auras, have elemental equilibrium. You could get more jewel sockets and more abyssal jewels. You may want to use Vis Mortis to give your minions Unholy Might, but it is when a minion gets a kill, which doesn't work if you use Speaker's Rev Helmet. And Vis Mortis would only be useful for the clear speed. And those are just couple ideas. Now onto the passive skill tree. This is a Necromancer and it could be done on Occultist, and Occultist may have even better clear speed because of the explosions, but Necromancer overall has more useful stuff. I think 2 main nodes that you kind of want to always take is Puppet Master and Invoker, and the rest depends on your build approach. But I did take Mistress of Sacrifice and Commander of Darkness. Mistress of Sacrifice increases the spider duration and allows me to be affected by offerings, and Commander of Darkness is pretty nice because you can easily get 20% all elemental resistances, either by using, let's say, level 1 Clarity if you don't have any auras, or just banners, because banners do count as auras. But it seems banners may be a bit glitchy, because when you place a banner and it expires, it still gives that 20% all elemental resistances until you change the zone. But if you just use the banner to reserve your aura, then you will always get that resistances. As for the rest of the passive skill tree, I basically took all the minion damage nodes, got enough life, a bit of skill effect duration because I do like having more skill effect duration. It's not really mandatory, and then just jewel sockets. Alright, I do have Eldritch Battery. This allows me to reserve basically all of my mana, and I have no issues spamming my spells. Eldritch Battery basically makes your energy shield protect your mana, so if you were to use mana it would consume energy shield. But now energy shield recharge is not stopped by the mana consumption if you got Eldritch Battery. So basically you just got a very nice energy shield recharge rate all the time. and I really like this Eldritch Battery change. I think I will be using Eldritch Battery on more of my builds in the future. By the way, this is level 90 passive skill tree, and with 3 more levels you could take another jewel socket, but if you plan on using Animate Guardian you may want to get some minion life nodes, maybe minion resistances as well. And that actually covers all the build. If you still got any questions, check the comments below. Some people may have asked that question and it may have been answered. If not, then feel free to ask. If I'm not streaming or sleeping, I usually can answer pretty fast. Now for my next build, I decided to try and do double cast on crit with Namahu's Flame Axe, but I'm not entirely sure if that's going to work well enough, but I will still make some sort of video. Next week I should finally be free and be able to sleep normally, so hopefully I will do more builds and faster and do more videos. So thank you for watching and I'll see you soon.